What is up, friends? We are here today at the MBS booth at EastgateCon 2025. And man, this is a surprise to me because I didn't expect these guys to come out, but I'm so stoked to finally meet Joel here in person. I've been a huge MBS fan for a long time. If you guys aren't aware, MBS has been on our Eastgate forum for many years, and they've always been forthcoming with helping people build their best boards possible with dimensions and parts and everything like that. And that's something that the DIY community really appreciates. So thank you to you guys for doing that.
Yeah, it's mutual. I mean, thank you guys, forums, just for all the information that you guys share. And yeah, it's great. It's a beautiful community. So we're glad.
It's a great relationship. And we've got a stellar entry to the electric market with the Agent series here. I did make one video on this already. If you haven't seen that already, check that out in the iCard. But I made a quick intro video going over a bunch of the specs and stuff, so we're not going to dwell too much on the specs of this board today.
Sure.
We'll braze over them when we talk about other stuff, but you can just check out that video for that information. It's all straight off the webpage. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about the technical design and what went into this mountain board. So I'll let you take it away. What is your thing that you're most proud of on this board?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd probably say our quick swap battery. I mean, there's kind of like three things, you know, that we've kind of pointed out before. One is that we've gone top mount because we think it has to be top mount. Okay,
agreed.
So that's, look, it's a serious mountain board, so it's got to be top mount.
Yep.
And it's always, you know, I've had a problem with the aesthetics in general for top mount stuff. So we've really tried hard in terms of, you know, on the technical side and the design side. So top mount, we're really proud of that, and we think we've done a good job of actually taking something that is a necessity from a technical standpoint and making it look not only good on its own, but actually as a whole product. So I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
And then the other side is we've, you know, this seems like this is new, but we've been working on this for years. So I'm really proud spec-wise. We've gone 18S. We've been on the forums. We've been listening. So it's like we know what a real board is like. So I am really proud in terms of the spec that we've put together. All the electronics, and then obviously our whole history of mountain boarding for the past 30 years. So obviously really proud of that.
So I saw the awesome video that you guys did to introduce the board. So you have some of your team riders who have tried it out and liked it, stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, you've seen the video, and not just the, you know, commercial that came out, but we're constantly putting out content. And to be honest, that's another thing I'm really proud of, is that we feel like, you know, we're not just kind of like coming in to sell a board. We want to contribute to the sports, and our riders, we support our riders, and they push things. So they're actually pushing things. They're pushing the sport forward, and I think they're doing things that nobody else has done. So I'll put that as number one in terms of what I'm proud of. And not only the riding, but I feel like the content, the quality of the content that we're putting out is like really, it inspires me to ride, so I hope it's inspiring other people to ride.
I agree. It's some really cool stuff, and like even like the camera work and stuff is very skilled, and the way it comes across, it just makes it look really, really good.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, the quick swap battery design, I've actually delved into this myself. I designed a quick swap battery for my own mountain board.
I remember watching your,
And I had like a string release and some clips that go in, but you guys took a different approach.
Yeah,
and it's actually,
I'll wheel this over here actually.
It's surprisingly simple, but well, it's simple when you look at it for the first time, but if you really know what you're looking at, the amount of finesse and engineering that had to go into making this thing actually work is pretty immense.
And that's, thank you for kind of bringing that up. I mean, we've tried a bunch of different things, but in the end, we wanted absolute security, so we wanted to make sure this thing is staying on there, so that's a big thing.
It has to handle your riders.
It has to handle our riders. So really, we've gone with this kind of turnbuckle design down here. So basically on the quick swap, you know, all you gotta do is kind of remove the connector, obviously, and then each one of these guys is just a turnbuckle design, and the battery comes off. So like literally, it's seconds. But the turnbuckle design is really important because everything else we found, in the end, it starts to rattle a little bit, any type of connection. So these turnbuckle, and these are fully adjustable. If you want it tighter, you can kind of twist it. If you want it looser, you twist it the other way.
Yeah.
So these turnbuckles, you know, they just work. They lock it down there, and they're quick to swap. So that, I'm really happy with that in the end.
Yeah, it lets you have a really solid piece of, I'm assuming steel, that holds
it's a
it
steel
down?
plate on the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. So the steel plate, how is that integrated with the deck? Is it
Yeah, so
screwed
there's-
directly on?
It is. We got inserts basically. I'll just kind of take this off again.
Yeah, I took some
basically,
B-roll.
Same as the binding inserts over here. We got inserts in the deck that mount this plate. So if people are doing DIY, you want to kind of pick up a battery.
Yeah.
We sell these plates separate. At that stage, you're gonna have to do through holes.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
But
I mean, that's still fine.
Yeah, that's still fine. Or inserts or whatever. You just want to make sure that that's actually kind of, your inserts are good. But apart from that, yeah, that's the battery box.
Very cool. So inside of here, I believe there's 2 battery options, right?
battery, yeah.
18S4 and
18S2.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the 2. This is like our air model.
Yeah.
And so and in terms of you can mix and match wheels, batteries, bindings. It's like really, if you know what you want and the wheels aren't right, you can get anything you want. But we've kind of positioned it as like, this is the air model, this is for jumping. This is going to have bindings on it. And the other one's the Explorer model, has the big battery, and it's more about range and really kind of getting out there.
Yeah, so what is the air model weighing at again?
Yeah, so it's about, I do kilos. So
Oh, okay.
it's 19 kilos.
Okay, I'll
And
put it on the
so
screen.
that is gonna be 40, that's 44 pounds.
Yeah, okay.
It's still pretty, I mean, there's weight in it, and in terms of design stuff, I wanted the lightest board possible, but several design decisions along the way ended up increasing the weight.
Yeah.
Steel on steel was one of them. So
Yep.
we tried some palm stuff, but we were breaking them, so that increased weight.
Yeah.
The other one, the motors, we were burning out smaller motors. So the motors,
big
there's a
ones?
lot of weight in that motor. It's a big motor, but all those things we kind of had to do.
Yeah.
So the back end is a little heavier than I'd ideally want, but we wanted something that's just like, it's gonna work. It's gonna work forever, and nobody has to worry about it. You don't have to mess with it.
So on the battery, you got some auxiliary power for charging stuff, which is
Yeah.
super cool. You got a.
Yeah, well actually on the small one you don't, so we've kept that as
Okay.
light as possible. On the big one,
I didn't know they had different batteries. So
yeah,
so
for sure.
every 18S2P is doesn't have the
does
additional
not have
charging.
the additional, yeah. And
Okay,
and
good to
every
know.
18S4P does, so it's got a little USB port there.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's 100 watt
USB-C,
PD.
It's 60 watt PD.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
65 watt PD. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's all. Do you have a waterproof rating on this battery?
Say it again?
Is there a waterproof rating?
IPX6, yeah. So
Oh,
we've
so that's really good then.
and a legit one. So that's I'm glad you asked that, because that's another thing that, like, this is real mountain boarding, and there is no way you're not getting your board wet.
Oh, yeah.
And people other brands dance around this issue. It's waterproof, but then you read the fine print and it's like, don't do this, don't do that. There's water. So we're not messing around. We've done all the testing. This is a legit certification. We've gone through everything. We've tweaked it. So this is full. This thing's waterproof. You go, you ride in the mud, you wash the thing off. Don't stress. So that's one
I
thing
can
we really
see
want to push. Yeah.
So this
Same
one
thing,
has
ESC as well.
experienced some mud. So
This
good
is
to see
a really
it's been
early.
used.
This is an early prototype one. So this is
Nice.
the first gear drive that we did, and this thing's been used. And so some of the design things that we've come up from that, there's now sacrifice plates on here.
Yep.
On the back of these guys, so I can kind of show you on this other one. So that's actually kind of cool to show some of the R&D stuff. This is a production one, so we got kind of sacrifice plates on here. That
Oh,
can
yeah,
be
it does look
swapped
different.
out. So you're gonna hit stuff, no matter what, no matter
Yeah.
how small it is. If you look at the rocks we're going over, you're gonna hit stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Good to see that on there.
Yeah.
So I guess on the gear drives, let's go to this one.
Yeah. These might not be. These are kind of. These are. Yeah, this is probably the better gear drive one to show.
Let's roll it over so that you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see it a little better.
Yeah. Okay.
So these gear drives,
Yeah.
when I first looked at it and talked about it in my video, my first impression was, oh, it looks like an Exway gear drive. But I heard that you actually had a lot of input on the design work, or you designed it. What's the story there?
Yeah, no, collab. So basically, in terms of Exway involvement, we're using Exway's ESC, but that was the collab as well in terms of throttle curves and testing. And so we've been working with this on them for a long time. But
Yeah.
ultimately, Exway's ESC, the thing is indestructible. It does everything we want to do. We've never burned one, so really happy with that. We got Exway's help on the battery in terms of the insides, in terms of the battery build. Because basically we wanted to focus on the board. We've been doing it for 30 years. We know we make a board.
Yep.
And I've done a bunch of DIY builds, but I just don't feel like we were ever able to kind of come out with something that I knew was going to work for sure, and these guys do. So, you know, we came into the thought, yep, they got the electronics down, we got the mountain boarding down. So that's basically it. And then in terms of the mechanics, most of the gear drive stuff was ours because I knew what we wanted, but yeah, they definitely helped with the design on that too.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, looking at it in person, it reminds me a lot of the jump drives in like the thickness, and then Exway in the design language.
Yeah, so for sure. So jump drive for me was a massive inspiration. Like, beautiful, beautiful design. So can't lie, a lot of inspiration came from that. Steel on steel, making as light as you can possibly make it. That was kind of the jump drive.
Yeah, super slim, and I see you guys went with a crossbar. I'm guessing that's for reliability.
Yeah, it's kind of motor protection, and it's mostly motor protection and reliability.
Okay, so you don't smack them up on rocks and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. But it certainly does, you know, it stiffens things up. And mostly motor protection.
Are they hobby wing motors or DXW or?
Yeah, DXW.
Okay. Yeah, DXW's gotten really popular nowadays, especially with these big ones, and they seem to be pretty reliable from what I've seen.
They're good. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, we're happy with those.
So you got integrated brake light on here?
Yeah, sure. I'm
That's
not sure,
pretty
this
cool.
One might not actually be turned on. I think this has got, but yeah, integrated brake light, turn signal, basically anything that, you know, functions from Exway's actual remote, then you're gonna get. So brake light,
there you go.
turn signaling. You know, it's got a bunch of different patterns you can go through. So basically, electronics and features. Yeah. Check out Exway.
That's super cool. So let's talk a little bit about the four-wheel drive version.
Yeah, sure.
So there are quite a few versions of the Agent. We have the Air one, which is lighter with the Rockstar 2s, the super light, reliable hubs, smaller battery, and then we got...
Well, actually, over here is the Explorer.
The Explorer, which is the big wheels and the bigger battery, and then the does it come with bindings by default or no? You have to buy them separate.
Buy them separate.
Okay, but they all have the insert hole.
Everything has the inserts. Yeah. So 4-hole pattern. Yeah, and the actual F5, both for regular and goofy.
Okay. So, and then you've got the Beast here, the four-wheel drive version. This thing, I'm sure this is probably like 60 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, I think even more. I think it's like 60. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
a beast.
Yeah.
But four-wheel drive has some serious advantages for off-road, especially for downhill dirt braking.
Dude, crazy.
So, what was the thinking behind four-wheel drive? Is it like for the back road enthusiasts? Did you guys have your team riders test out and they're like, oh, we need more brakes? Was there a certain decision there or no?
So our team riders, they're mostly air riders. They're jumping, that's the kind of thing. So I'm kind of like the four-wheel drive tester guy.
Yeah.
And so four-wheel drive, in launching this whole thing, I wanted to make sure that we future-proofed it.
Yeah.
So anything that, you know, direction we might want to go in, I wanted to make sure that this line has room to expand. So on that battery pack, what we decided to do is do a dual discharge port on it, just to make sure the four-wheel drive was an option. And then in terms of the function, for me, like I said, I'm kind of an air rider too. I like light boards.
Yeah.
But the four-wheel drive, there is no comparison. I mean, and you're saying braking as well, braking for sure, but for climbing stuff, it just goes. So we kind of have these two realms, both in board-wise and riding-wise. It's like, you want to push the sport in terms of jumping and doing crazy stuff. That's your air board. You want to get out there and do some like serious, it's called the Explorer because we're like serious. Go out and explore. You know, quick swap battery, you know, ride all day, go to some crazy faraway places. And that four-wheel drive, you know, was kind of like part of that whole exploration theory.
So you said you ride the Explorer a lot.
Yeah, I ride the Air. To be honest, I ride the Air mostly. Yeah, and
but you tested
I have a
this
four-wheel drive Explorer setup as well.
Do you find that the four-wheel drive has a serious impact on the range?
It does.
So
unfortunately,
what are you ending up with for your four-wheel drive like off-road range?
Yeah,
approximately.
So approximately, I think we get on the normal Explorer, we're getting about 40. It really depends on how you ride. So we get 40 miles.
Oh,
but
wow.
That's like, look,
it's like chill riding.
That's like gear 2, chilling. You know what I mean? So it's like when I go out and ride, like I ride really, really hard. So I mean, just to be honest, and it's kind of a taboo subject to talk about, but I get 20 miles out of a 40-mile.
I mean, that's still respectable. 20 miles off-road.
Yeah.
If you guys are familiar with riding off-road at all, I mean, hills, dirt, high amps, all kill the battery fast. And
Yeah,
if we're being honest, I mean, coming from a reviewer and engineering standpoint, 99% of the ECA companies overstate their range by way too much. So, I mean, you know, hearing a tested range of 20 is not even shocking at all. Like it's still good range. And
no, I appreciate that, because we're the
powerful.
same. If you look on our website, we're spec'ing 40, and I've done 40.
Yeah.
But it's a really boring ride.
Oh, yeah.
It's a seriously boring ride. It's just out. It's pretty flat. You know, I mean, it's in our kind of like eco mode cruising. You can get 40 miles, and if you just cruise and stuff like that, you can get that. And it's a difficult, like I said, it's a touchy subject, because you got to on specs, you got to compare. But we have to use a standard. But just so you know, you get about half that. If you're gunning it and you're doing hills, you get about half that.
So the 4-wheel drive versus 2-wheel drive, would you say that it also has an impact on the range in more trail riding?
It does. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
So I expect like maybe
It's probably-
a third less, something like that?
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, you'd at least get 15, but you probably, I mean, once again, it depends on how you're riding and how much you're actually kind of using that.
Yeah,
But,
of course.
Yeah, you're getting, I mean, I'd say it's probably, you're still getting probably 18 miles out of that, yeah.
Still a lot of range, all things
Yeah.
considered.
And the other thing is, like, we're really pushing is the swappable battery, man. That's like, and I know that's a lot of money for people, and that's why we've kind of done, that's just an industry special that we got going, so I'm not
What's
sure if we're allowed to.
what's the normal rate for an 18S 2P, like the
So
price?
18S 2P is about it's $799.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it's $1,400. But we're actually, because like we're committed to really like getting that endless ride thing, we're actually giving a free 18S 4P big battery with the purchase of an Explorer.
Wow, that's really
which is
cool.
like,
That's
that's
a lot of bonus.
That's a lot of bonus. And look, we're not a specials, we're not a discount brand, we're a premium, so we're not doing that. But because this was an industry show, and we want to get people out exploring.
Oh, yeah.
And we know it's a lot of money to get a second battery, but we do think that unlocks things that don't, you know, riding that doesn't exist right now. So that's kind of why we're doing that.
And do you know the weight of an 18S 2P by itself, like for in a backpack?
I got it in spec, I don't know it offhand. Yeah. It's no. Is the
I would
answer,
guess
yeah.
it's probably around 15 pounds.
Yeah, we can feel.
Is it a metal enclosure around the outside, or is it like reinforced plastic?
It's reinforced plastic. Yeah.
Okay.
So we got kind of these heat sinks up here that are for the BMS. That's aluminum. Sorry, and but everything else is just like, it's all injection molded, and it is absolutely indestructible.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's had experience with your Rockstar 2 hubs, I mean, I've seen people chip a quarter of the hub off and it still holds the tire just fine.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 30 years. We've had plenty of problems with injection molded stuff, 20 years ago. We've got our formula down. This is not gonna break.
Yeah, so it looks like you got a steel plate on the top that interfaces with a turnbuckle, and then the plastic construction to definitely keep the weight down. Yep. I have a Exway aux pack, which is a 12S 6P.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That battery alone is 23 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
that's
it's a
got
metal,
the aluminum. Yeah, so
metal
the
base plate
metal
and
the sides are metal. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was one thing that was big. That was a big decision, because the molding that went into this is like a lot of money. It's like, so we really kind of thought about like, hey, can we do this cheap? But we thought we've been waiting to get in for a while. So when we did get in, we wanted to make sure we had the best offering, and we did it actually right. So that's why we kind of gone that direction.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, we're back here with Joel again to talk about some more stuff on this beautiful new mountain. So in the back here, we were just talking about the battery and its construction and stuff, but we also got a brand new ESC, 18S ESC. I believe this is the first production board with a, quote unquote Chinese ESC that is 18S. And I believe it's a Hobby Wing ESC, technically?
Yeah, it's basically, Hobby Wing via XC. So we got Hobby Wing produced, Exway has done, some custom engineering on it as well, and then we've added a bit too. So it's just kind of like, basically.
The 18S, I know this is a big decision that people had on the forum. I phrased that badly. There's a big decision going to Hobby Wing instead of VESC, because I know you guys have been part of the DIY community for a long time, so I'm sure you're well aware of how many people use VESC. But do you want to explain the decision behind choosing a Hobby Wing ESC?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, and even some of that, we're open to anything in the future. So feedback is like, as you see on the forums, like we really do listen. So I'm open to anything. And I think I've had some conversations with Benjamin, Jeffrey, and those guys, and Dave kind of doing VESC. And I think there's room to kind of like do that the way that we want to do it. But the number one decision, and this is the whole board, we want it to work. We want it to work, and it's kind of like, we got our DIY community, that's great, we want to support that. But we just want this to, no matter what, you can't mess with the setting, you can't do anything that is ever going to cause a problem on this board. So, and Exway's got a great reputation, so we look to that of just like, what is reliable? And we have never had a problem. You can go turbo mode, you're never gonna, you know, no overcurrents, no anything. So it's just like, this is a production board, and so we wanted to lock it down, and we know that's controversial. You know, and we're open to other, you know, doing other stuff in the future that's kind of more focused on DIY, but this is our entry into the market. We want people to buy this board and have zero maintenance, zero hassles, just like we want it to work. So that's why we went with Exway.
I think part of the, I mean, not complaint necessarily, but when our DIY community, which is, I will add, very picky, when they see, oh, it's a Hobby Wing ESC, they think not powerful, but that is just not the case with this one. And we actually have a little Dylan Bell in the background there. This guy rips stuff around, and if he says it's powerful, it's powerful.
It is powerful.
So,
like I said, this isn't an off-the-shelf thing. We've been involved with this for 2 years. We said exactly what we want. We decided on 18S. That was part of our decision. So this is like this is going years back, and we needed this thing to be powerful. So it's got everything. It's got everything you need for sure, and more.
Well, I mean, honestly, most people would probably struggle to build their own mountain board that could compete with the power and range ratio on here. I mean, I built technically only one mountain board, but I built a lot of boards, and my mountain board is on 12S, 7P battery, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a bit quicker, because the Hobby Wing is interesting because they have like the softer division, I'll call it, for like the more production boards, and then they have the Max series that all the Stooges use. And I feel like this 18S one could potentially bridge the gap between having something that's dailyable versus something that realistically 90% of people will throw themselves off the board with in the Max 5. So
that's the thing, is I mean, we wanted to be like, you know, we wanted to be practical, and this a lot of DIY builds probably do have more, you know, more headroom in that. But there are so few people that actually need that. Like legit, Dylan, Eamon, you know, Emlyn over in the UK, look at what they do. And there are, I mean, literally, there are not that many people that can do more than that. So it's just like, it's enough. And you can get crazy about specs, but when it comes down to it, it's enough for anybody.
So in the back here, since you got an enclosure on the top, which is as it should be on a mountain board, in my opinion.
Thanks.
What connectors are you using inside there for the motors? Are they like MR60s or something else?
No, they're custom. I'll show you. Is gonna grab.
I can cut for a second.
Cut for a second?
Yeah, sure. We'll come back in a second. All right, we're back. This is the connector that MBS is using. It's a 3-pin power, and then it looks like 6-pin Halls in there. And this is actually one that Exway uses. And in a video coming soon, you guys will see in the gear drive upgrade for that board, you'll see the same connector. And I know you guys are really open to selling parts like for DIY stuff, so will you have like connectors available?
Right now on our site, we've got every part, you know, gear drives, motors, batteries, all made for DIY. 25% off at the show.
Awesome.
So that only lasts a week after the show, but anyway. And not only that, but we do have connectors as well. So we have the custom battery connector that comes out of here and runs to pigtails on the back. So you can connect to a VESC, you can do whatever you want with this battery. So it's doesn't need to be paired with this. If you want an 18S battery, we sell these separate. Same thing with the motor connectors. We're selling pigtails on the motor connectors that has this connector with basically raw ends that you can run to anything that you want. So like I said, we've done the VESC thing. I know is controversial within DIY, but everything else we've done, we really want to support people doing whatever they want. You love our gear drive, but you don't like our motors? Great, no problem. do something else. So they can all be kind of mixed and matched. But this connector is amazing. No problems with this connector. It's waterproof as well. That's another thing. We just went crazy on the waterproofing. I don't know if I said that already, but it's true. Yeah. And this is just another step. Our connectors are crazy waterproof. Everything is. So.
Yeah, connectors can often be a failure point for like motor durability, and a lot of
especially with Hall
older
sensor
boards
stuff.
have that problem.
I mean, maybe not power, but it doesn't take much on those things. So we wanted to waterproof the crap out of it.
Small wires and a little bit of corrosion. Not a good time for durability. But I think that's most of the features that I want to talk about on this board.
Yeah.
Again, super stoked for this MBS release. I guess I just have one more question for you from an engineering standpoint.
Yeah.
What was your biggest hurdle in the production of this board?
In the production? So design or production?
Well, both. Do one
whole
first.
Thing. Well, one, this is an engineer's more design, going with the top mount battery that actually looked like a product.
Yeah. Fair.
Seriously, because I knew it had to be top mount, because technically it has to, if you're serious, you gotta be top mount. But everything looks like crap. You know, and look, it may not be, that's kind of an aesthetic thing, you may like it, may not, but I feel like we've made something that actually looks like a product. So that's more of a design thing, that's kind of like industrial design. Engineering, there wasn't anything, no, it all actually went pretty well. It was more kind of like design things, you know. But everything else it's
that's awesome.
Mainly that, making something that actually looks good and performs.
And you guys are in full production. You can buy one today and it'll ship.
Buy one today. Yeah.
Awesome.
And in Europe's just landed too, actually, in the UK. So we're on in the US. We got show specials, but by the time this airs, they may not be active. They're only valid for a week, but yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna try and figure out a way to get some demo time on this weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you guys again soon. Thank you so much,
dude,
for the interview.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad
and
to
not
meet
just the interview, but everything. Seriously, community-wise, we love the community. Legit, we really do. So
that's great to hear.
You're a big contributor to that. So
we love companies that work with the community, and you guys are definitely on the top end of that.
Thank you. Yeah,
sweet.
appreciate that.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, awesome. See you guys.
All right, as I was heading out here, I realized I forgot to cover the new bindings, which sort of released with the agent, but you can use them on any board. You just have to drill a different hole pattern than you might be used to. And these have a lot of interesting features because they're built up on a solid, they're built up on a solid metal base plate. And they have a really cool feature that lets you sort of disengage the center section and rotate them to any angle that you want. So Joel, you want to go through sort of the highlights here? Yeah,
for sure. It's basically, it's a snowboard setup. The pattern's a 4-hole snowboard pattern, so it's directly taken from the industry standard for snowboards.
Okay.
So you got 4 holes here. That's what mounts to your deck. And then basically, once they are engaged in the deck, then you can just basically spin. We got degrees written on there, so you can really dial in. It's every 3 degrees. Basically, it has teeth, and that engages. So you say, if this would be a front foot binding for a regular. This is me. So you might say this is 0-0, but you might want to run it at 45. You know, people, especially in e-skate.
Yeah, people like to do different setups all the time.
So, and I see people with F5. What inspired this actually was like, I see people with normal F5s. And they just got a weird setup, and it's not quite right because they're trying to get angle. So this is really directed, and that's why we launched it with the agent. It's directed for e-skate, and you can just totally dial in your stance. Yeah. And then still be able to lock in, because really where the control comes from an F5 binding, you enter like this, but to lock, you gotta lock hard. You gotta twist to lock. Yeah. Most people in e-skate don't actually understand that. It's the pressure against here and here, which is actually where your control comes from. Once you get that, you have so much more power, and you don't need to crank your strap down so good. Yeah. So if you're riding kind of loose like this, you just don't get the control. So that's what this binding is about. We put some concave in the plate itself, so you can put it on any deck that you want, and still get the concave. But yeah, it's stance adjustability. Everything else is the F5.
Yeah, I as someone who races and has a mountain board, I use M5 or the F5 bindings all the time, and I definitely agree that locking in to that corner is partly what makes them unique, but also good, because some certain other companies that have, in my opinion, as a reviewer, you don't have to comment, far inferior bindings that stretch, hurt your foot. This is a comfortable thing that you can lock into and really trust that strong corner in there. So it's cool to see a new version coming out, and especially one that's more adjustable.
Yeah.
And Dylan was saying earlier that one of the unique features is that it's really easy to switch from goofy to regular, because you can just hop the binding around. And I always have that problem, a weird problem, but when people want to try a board, I'm like, oh, you goofy or regular.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
but with this one,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's come in handy at the show for sure. It's like, oh, wait, I'm regular, I'm goofy, I'm regular, I'm goofy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, I know I already exited, but thanks again.
Yeah,
thanks for the info.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, good luck today.